It has been 2 years since John had to afford to abandon his position as a Spartan, and even that they had to try to stay away from the fight team Osiris who has been tasked to hunt him down. Even though he hasn't been officially been declared dead, but that didn't mean that he wasn't. Just before he managed to escape from being found, he talked to his friend and his former partner, Cortana, who is an android or an artificial intelligence, an AI. He told her that he wished that she could join with him and travel so far away because even she was haunted by the people because she had started being going rogue. And he tried to convince her to join with him, but she said that it would be too dangerous for them to be together because if either of them had been spotted, Fight Team Osiris would know that if Cortana is nearby, there will not be much difficulty to find that John is with her, or is at least nearby. Just before they had forced to take a separate goodbye, John told her that he loved her, despite her to be an AI. He didn't care if she was an artificial intelligence or if she was an alien. He did love her more than anything, and they even shared a kiss before he ran away. He managed to take a ship and escape from Earth and just go anywhere. So for the next 2 years, he traveled around the galaxy, tried to stay away from the fight team of Cyrus, who still was on his tracking. He tried to track him down. He didn't stay on a planet for too long, maybe for only for 1 day or two, but he did actually stay on an asteroid where he managed to build his own temporary home, but only for about a month or so. He didn't want to stay for one place too long because if he did, he would be tracked down by Fire Team Cyrus, which he didn't want to be that. He knew. He knew also to avoid any populated colony, and even tried to stay away at least several light years from the nearest colony. Even though it was not an ally to Earth, was an enemy, because he knew the enemies to the humanity could easily betray him and rat him out to Earth society for authorities that they have John. Even they themselves have been found out that he has been declared officially to be dead, which they later found out would be false. So every time when he needed to stop, try to find some more fuel for his ship, he would try to find at least less populated world, even if it was a colony. And he managed to have over the past 2 years. He had disguised himself just to try to some sort of a way to be not being recognized by any authorities on colonies or perhaps even other former soldiers, or perhaps even soldiers who have been stationed on those particular planets. So every time when he needed fuel to his ship, he always landed so far outside when he managed to buy the fuel or perhaps even supplies he needs. But it happens that he lands on planets that has no colony on it, where he stays for a short time and manage to get some more supplies from maybe fruits or something. But during his travels for the past 2 years, he had missed Cortana so much, and he even wants to find her. But since after they separated from different ways, he has never seen her ever again. He had tried to find a way to maybe reach out to her and just find her for some reason. Even for around the same time when he has been traveling. Cortana, she has otherwise had also been traveling on her own ship. She had been traveling even that he wants to find John. But since she's an artificial intelligence, she doesn't need food and anything. But the only thing that she needs is fuel. And she easily managed to find a planet where she can get the fuel. And since she is an AI or an artificial intelligence, she had managed to make a new program that she can disguise herself as human or an alien, so that some way to avoid being detected, which always worked. But one time, only one time, she was nearly being caught by 40 soldiers, believed that she was some sort of a spy or something, but she managed to convince that she wasn't. But even after all her travel, she tried to stay away from any heavily populated colonies or any particular planets. But around the same time, she tried to convince other people on the world to try to be independent from Earth. Maybe they didn't not in the need of Earth's authority. But around the same time when she was looking for a place to just stay for, because one time after that she had recently been discovered. She was discovered by Fight Team Osiris, and she believed that she had lost her freedom. But she managed to use some sort of trick. Around the same time when she knew that they had found her, she tracked them, she managed to pull them into a nebula where she destroyed a ship exact identical to her own. But it wasn't even hers. She made this sort of trick. But at the same time when that ship exploded, she was far distant from that and cloaked. She had managed to upgrade her own ship to be cloaked so that it could be detected. So the fight team of Cyrus, they started searching for the records, and they had then declared from back to Earth authorities that Cortana was now officially dead. They brought back the ship records back to Earth to be officially more clearly to be examined, which then turned out to be the ship that she were on. So, they turned out that was actually her ship, and that she had been hitting a same identical ship in the nebula, where she transported herself over to by cloaked while she detonated or self-destruct to her own ship. But she tried to stay away from being detected otherwise. But over time, she managed to at least find a planet where she could stay. And since that planet was far from any major colonies or even from Earth, and now that the authorities on Earth have been declared her officially dead, or at least deleted or defeated, so the Shinji had no worries to be just never to be lower her guard down. But around the same time when she was just has built her new home, that she had missed John. She wanted to find him, but practically to find someone in an enormous galaxy was impossible because of hundreds of worlds to be living on. But she knew that John always had to be in constant moving, and that would make it even harder for her to even track him down. But after living on this particular planet for about 6 months, she decided it was time to go out in the galaxy to try to find him. Even it would take her perhaps centuries or perhaps even millennia to find him. But in her programming, she knows that love is something that she is completely unknown to her. But to her, John is a very important person in her life. And even after that, he had told her that he loved her. And for some reason, she feels some strong connection to him, and she wants to find him because she knows that he might be more safer with her without knowing that she will never will be able no longer be tracked down. After nearly 6 months of traveling the galaxy, she managed tracking him down for some luck. She actually ran into his ship by just by stroke of luck. He was actually standing by was close to hitting an asteroid. That when he had made his temporary home a second time. But he didn't know that the ship was passing by was Cortana's. He believed it was Fire Team Osiris who had finally found him. But before he was about to fire at them, or at least destroy his own ship or try to escape, Cortana sent him a message, or at least a code, only that he knew, because it was a code that they both had made to identify if it was possible even in them. And he did immediately recognize the code, and he sent same back to her, but in more differently. And from that, they started to do open communication. He asked her, "Why are you here? You know that you should stay away from me." But Cortana explained that Fire Team Osiris no longer looking for her, and he asked for why don't they looking for her. Then she made a short explanation that they were no longer looking for her because she faked her death. That was surprising even from him. But he actually invited her over to his ship, and when she came aboard, they both gave each other a hug, and they start talking more about what just happened, including then what about her life. She had been living on one planet for 6 months, and that she missed him and wanted him back to in her life. Because they knew that they could no longer to go to any particular planet for any reason. But they wanted to be together. But they even knew going to an heavily populated planet were a very dangerous risk, because if anyone would recognize John, they would immediately be for notice the authority, and later fighting with Cyrus would have found him and taken him to Earth for some punishment that he didn't want to recognize or even think about. So Osiris, the fighting Osiris, has still been looking for him, have no luck, because every single major planet in galaxy had never heard about his current whereabouts. But after nearly 2 months of searching for, or at least 2 years of searching for him, Earth's authorities had given officially up, had told Fire Team Osiris that they no longer were looking for him, because if they had not been found him for 2 years, there was no point of being searching. Because if the highest ranking officers in the authority on Earth, they realized it would take them perhaps even centuries, or perhaps even many more decades, perhaps to find even John. Since John was in his late 40s. And it would, even if they did find him maybe for the next 20 or perhaps even next 30 years, it was almost impossible, because he could be anywhere in the galaxy, and they would not spend every single resources they had to be on a single team to find John. So Fire Team Osiris has been declared to be not looking for him anymore. So they start looking to do something else for the authorities. But around the same time, John and Cortana, they both have wanted to do something for their particular lives. They decided to be living together, but where? John had found out about maybe going to a planet where it has perhaps a small colony as far as possible from any other major colonies. After been studying the star map on the ship, there were many dozens of potential worlds that they could settle on. But some of them were actually very close to some major colonies, others were nearly close by, but they would prefer to be a planet as least as far as possible, maybe as near the edge of the galaxy as what they recommended. So, but John didn't know exactly what planet to be searching from, so there were dozens of planets. So Cortana spent the night by searching from the star map from any of the records she had of small planets, small population, far from any major hyperlanes or maybe training routes or something like that. And she managed to find a very small colony near the Atrial galaxy, which had only about 10, almost about 5,000 people. And there was a small farming colony, which in her mind would be perfect for John. When she mentioned this the next day to him, he was a little bit skeptical, living on a foreign planet. But there weren't any other possible other potential planets to settle on, because this planet was so far away from the other big training routes or even those big colonies. And this was the only possible planet that is there. Because this planet, or at least this colony, didn't have any military station in it. This was just a farming colony, and they, since the people in the colony prefer not to have any military presence on the planet. But even John was a former soldier. If the people on the colony would find out that he's a former soldier, they would probably start avoiding him or perhaps even report him. But that was a big risk they had to take because they could not living on a ship traveling around the galaxy. There would not be much of life for him, and he agreed. So they considered both corners of both ships to this planet. But then when they arrived, they discovered this colony was actually very much like Earth, very much green and blue. It reminded him of his own planet. But after they settled down on the planet, they built their own small home, perhaps just only a short distance from the main colony. Even though that they Jans built a home and built a small farm for him, he knew that eventually had he had to go to this big major settlement to find some perhaps job or perhaps something to do, perhaps to get some more supplies for his farm. But even during this, he managed to get some new friends. And after about another year, and this time it was about 2,564. And now, some of the people in the colony had found out that John was a former soldier. And he found that, but the people on the colony didn't even bother him that he's a former soldier. Because to them, he was just a regular citizen of the colony. And they opened up their homes to him and Cortana. They even found out that Cortana was actually in some sort of artificial program. But they didn't bother that either, because in this colony, everyone respected anyone who is. No matter what it is, is an alien or an android or perhaps even anything. But for that moment, John and Cortana felt home. And John, he actually started working as a teacher in a local school. And he was actually very good at it. They were mostly been training about some self-defense and even training them about teaching them about history and some other things about he learned. At first I think Cortana thought maybe it was not the best idea for him to do that. But after seeing how much the students and how much the other people in the colony actually adored or at least enjoyed his company, it happened that he sat with other male settlers talking about his past travels and about almost anything, which to him felt like very that he actually gained true friends. No one in the colony would never betray him, which they would never do. But after about they have been living there for about 2 years, something did happen. It was a big storm. John was in town when some of this big storm appeared, and the settlers told him that these storms do have happens occurs every year, or at least once or twice each year, at least once every second year or so. But this time, this storm was even stronger, and after the battle of the storm has passed, about 10 buildings in town were destroyed. including John's own farm, but he quickly rebuilt it. But it didn't bad bother for him though. But there was something else that happened. After the storm had passed, there were two children who had lost their family in the storm. They were at another family's home at the time when the storm destroyed their home. So they had lost their own father, and now the two children were orphaned. But John Budden had offered to raise the children by himself, to be as their adoptive father, and they both actually enjoyed that. There was a girl who was about 5 and a boy who was only about 8, and they actually loved to be his adoptive father. Even at first they were a little bit quiet, a little shy at most, but after that they slowly opened up and they actually started appreciating that John was their father. But even after all of this, John felt that he wanted to have something more. He wanted to have a wife. Since by now, Cortana and John has been dating as a couple. And one day he actually had asked Cortana if she would maybe consider to be his wife, as officially. But Cortana thought maybe not no one in this on the settlement would ever consider to begin to do this official ceremony. But when John went in town one day and asked one of the settlers if there was any priest or anyone who considered to perform a wedding ceremony, and when he then said that it was about him and Cortana, who was an artificial program, and the priest, he didn't see any much a problem to get to be marrying John with Cortana. And with the next couple of weeks, Cortana had actually said yes to John's proposal after he explained that there were a priest who will be willing to perform the ceremony for them. So they did. But after all nearly 2 years of being married, though, something did happen. John fell ill one day, and it was shortly after that there was a big winter, and John was very ill, and it was nearly that he could die. And Cortana, though, she had all the records about human physiology, how their biology, and mostly cures for any known diseases. But there were a lack of this information that she didn't have. This was about an illness that was from this planet, which she never had any database for. But luckily, the settlers actually had the medicine for, or at least the cure for his ailment. And for that, it actually helped him a lot. Even after he's been recovered, he could not be happier that Cortana was there for him every single day to be taking care of him. And he even thanked the people in town for giving him the cure for his ailment. And for that, he was always grateful to them and his wife, Cortana. Even when he was getting older, he still trained self-defense in town, but around when he was about 60, he decided that it was maybe time to retire because he started getting feel a bit older and he had almost lost almost the same physical force strength and he used in his youth. But he still remained as a teacher in a colony. And one day, he was very happy to see his own adopted daughter to get married. He even walked up to her with her to the altar, and he was very happy to see her. Eva Cortana for herself, she was more happy to see her daughter also to be get married. And after so many years, Cortana and John was still very much happy to be in each other's company and even living on this farm planet. After this time, John had actually been no more happier than ever been now, especially to have two children, a wife that who loves him no more than anything, and especially having two granddaughters from his own daughter and two grandsons from his son. Having four grandchildren and even two children and a wife that loves him more than anything was something that he ever could never been asked for or even dreamed for. Yet from that moment, John knew this was the life he wanted all along. Even that he was used to be a soldier fighting in battles, wars against aliens, but to him, this was something that he didn't want to care about anymore. He doesn't even care that he used to be a soldier or that he no longer trained as a soldier, but he always knew this was this life he wanted, even deep down in his heart. He can never have been happier to have found his true happiness, to be married with Cortana and having two children and and even four grandchildren. In his mind, this was the true dream that had come true. And this is how John 117 and Cortana found a true love and got a big family. The end.